Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name is Rohan Karamandi, and as usual, I'm joined with Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Rohan.
And today we have a special guest, Andrej. Andrej, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. And as usual, this episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports Home Assistant, ASP Home, and Z-Wave.js, amongst a bunch of other projects. Configuration is done by the user interface, so there's no fiddling with router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. Why don't we just jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here today?
Yeah, so I'm Andrej. I live in Germany, and I'm 35 years old. That means I am in the perfect age for Home Assistant, I guess.
I was going to say, you are in the target demographic of this audience as well. I think that's pretty much 90% of our audience.
100%, yeah. But I'm doing Home Assistant since 2017, so quite some time now. I remember those Husky YAML days, and I'm very glad that we're getting to a very much polished interface in these days, especially with the automations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm currently trying to build a device, actually a product, to use with Home Assistant to control your PC.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Let's just jump into that. What is this product?
Okay, so I called it PokyPow. It's just a small device you plug into your mainboard, and then you connect the mainboard side and the PC case side of things with power LED, power switch, reset switch. And now it can, via ESP Home, because it's built on that, register against Home Assistant. And now you can power on, off, reset, even hard reset if it's like locked up, and also see the power state of your computer in your home. Yeah.
That's neat. So basically, Home Assistant with the companion app today on your desktop, you can see things like if it's powered on or anything like that, but you can't actually control necessarily the power unless you run some other script or do something like that. This is just a piece of hardware. You open up your box, put it in between your power switch, like you said, and where it connects in the PCB or in the motherboard.
Yeah, correct. And the necessity from this was a friend of mine asked me a couple of years ago, like, does such a device exist, but please without cloud? And and of course there was a device. Unfortunately, they don't sell it anymore because I want to get one, but just to compare it. But it was with the cloud. I think what's it called, the EV Link app or something, where a lot of products have been like deployed with.
Yeah.
And that was a deal breaker for him. And I looked up a couple of schematics and on the internet, and actually found the same thing basically DIY'd by the Hookup, the YouTube channel. So, and I tried to, my first steps in PCB design was horrible, but at least I got a prototype working. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, well, apart from like just, I'm picturing that there's a device that can be like essentially a kill switch. Like if the machine's locked up, there is an entity in Home Assistant say, all right, kill the power to the power supply and then turn it back on. What else can PokyPow then expose to Home Assistant?
So basically it exposes just the power button itself, then the reset button and the power LED, so the state. That's basically everything. Of course, also some like metrics like the Wi-Fi, because the PC is a metal cage, so it's kind of bad for reception, I guess. And therefore, I want to also have the Wi-Fi signal strength so that people know, oh, okay, that I have to figure out how to place it, add another access point, or route the antenna outside. So that's everything you can do. But the use cases are kind of funny, in my opinion, because a few people are actually using it these days. My old prototype boards I sent away, and someone is, for example, using it as a, let's say, child control. So they have a sensor which is monitoring the uptime of that PC. So, and it's only used for gaming for the kids, and there's no discussion. The PC will just go off after an hour.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to enforce, like, no, you've had too much screen time today. That's it. The computer's off.
Yeah.
Kill it. That's cool. So I'd love to know a little bit about the build process on this. Do you have a hardware background? It sounds like you didn't, from what you just kind of said. How did all that come across? Like, how did you? So your friend came up to you and said, essentially, Andre, build me this thing, or find me this thing. You couldn't find it, and you're like, hey, I'll build it for you. And then, and what happened from there?
So he asked, and he didn't say build it for me, but
Yeah.
I just thought that can't be that hard. And yeah, and actually, I think if you are a hardware engineer, which I am not, then it won't be very hard. It's a very simple product in the sense of, but if you go into details like making a circuit and doing like having enough power for the Wi-Fi and the spike of the Wi-Fi power and all these things, I know these in theory because I have an engineering degree background, but I'm working in IT since 8 years, so for 8 years now, and no hardware. What I could build then was I bought myself one of these dev boards, ESP-8266 was it at the time, and I connected a couple of optocouplers, so things I found on the internet how this could work, and built myself hand soldered a prototype and just validated if it would work what I had in mind. And yes, that worked, even though only the half of the board worked because my soldering is not that great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how do you get it? How do you build this now? So this is like you have your design, you send it to whatever PCB manufacturer, and then do you assemble it? Do they assemble it? How does the shipping work? How does all that stuff happen?
So let's go in order. I had the hand soldered prototype, but that didn't work quite fondly enough and didn't look great. Then I created a board with the PCB design software. It's from JAC PCB. I think it's called EasyEDA. You can do it in your browser. It's relatively simple. And I made just a board where you connect one of these VMOS D1 minis, and that's it. That was for hand soldering. So I also did a couple of hand soldering sessions and stopped my time with it to see how long does it take. And first of all, I didn't enjoy the 1 hour. And second of all, it was just 5 pieces. So no way that's something I want to do at home. Yeah. But I got a couple of them working, sent them out to friends and family and a few people which follow me on my blog and also wanted to have one. Also from the Netherlands, because some way around Netherlands is the most enthusiastic home assistant community, in my opinion. Yeah. That's at least what I perceive. Yeah. And then I was about to create a new version with an external antenna, because these VMOS D1 minis usually have that small PCB onboard antenna, but as we always said, PC case, metal, no reception. And then I bought one of those which have an external antenna to validate how is the signal strength actually better, because I know that cable length and stuff like that also has like impedance, and therefore it will weaken the signal as well compared to having it inside. I just want to test it. And the thing is, at that point, I hated the project because you had to desolder a small resistor to a different place so that you can activate the external antenna. So you have to basically hardwire it. I got my hot air gun, which tried it, and the hot air didn't only warm up just that one component I needed to change. No, it of course warmed the whole board up and blew all the pieces around my floor. Yeah, and I tried this, I think 3, 4, 5 times, and then I scratched the project. I was so frustrated. Yeah, that was kind of my building journey. But I scratched it. People kept asking about it. I wrote, people just emailed me and commented on my blog about it. And when the number hit 100 people asking for it, I'm just like, okay, let's just do it. And then I hired someone on one of these platforms. I think it was Upwork, to make it more professional.
That's cool. So they then send you the design files and for this PCB, and then you can get that manufactured, I'm guessing. Like how?
The process was like this. So I had a really clear picture of what it looked like in my mind, right? So the dimensions, even the thickness, because you see, you have like if you have a USB 2.0 header, you have most likely second one next to it, so it's not allowed to be too wide, and also not too thick, because then it will interfere with PCIe slots, whatever. So I had written down like a really good specification, and in my opinion, and then I think I created like what's it called? You just upload this, and then people will just apply to it like a regular job, and you then go through the applications and choose your winner in this case. And this person I chose, had looked good to me, and we started working together for a couple of months until I had the prototype, and that prototype was then basically just files which you could send to JLC PCB, PCB, whatever PCB manufacturer, and you will get the whole product or the PCB. Yeah.
So they send it to you manufactured fully and all that. Yeah, that's great.
Then I had, of course, to do the compatibility checking with the software. I had to adjust the ESP home settings because different pins were used and things like that, the small details. But figured it out, at least after some time. Yeah. And then I had basically a working piece of hardware, which I thought I could sell already. But of course, I was wrong on that side. And then I had to, because there are a lot of things like Wi-Fi certification, CE certification, and like radio always needs like frequency certifications regarding is there any noise coming from that device. So all these things, these are still open questions to this day. But the good thing is what I could do with that prototype is I could apply it to a crowd supply. Crowd supply is kind of like Kickstarter, but for hardware projects and less sketchy, let's say it that way. They don't accept a lot of projects. 80% of the applicants will be like withdrawn because there's no point in doing it. And they accepted then the project at some point in time, which I was very glad of.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, that was super cool. And after accepting, and one of the acceptance criteria was actually to have a working prototype. And that's also a difference between Kickstarter, I guess. Because on Kickstarter, you can create a video, a really nice marketing campaign, without even having anything.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that's the same platform that the Home Assistant Crowd Supply is, where Home Assistant Yellow was launched. Maybe the green, but definitely the yellow, because I think that's where I bought my yellow that I actually use today.
Yeah, I found it out later as well. So I didn't know that. I know that they were crowdfunded, but I didn't know that it was the same platform.
Yeah. So so that's pretty cool. So that's a neat kind of process that and congratulations on getting accepted into Crowd Supply, because to your point, that's not the easiest, right? And that's nice. So now where are you with it? So it's on Crowd Supply. I just checked out your blog post. You've got about 100 or 200 people that are on the pre-launch, it looks like.
So when you get accepted, the next step is to figure out how many do you want to sell, because that very much depends on how much people do you need to reach, because you have always churn, right? So people sign up but never buy, which is totally normal. And for me, I would be super happy with just 50 people, to be honest. I know that I cannot live from this. I know that not everybody needs this thing. So we said just 50 people. And then Crowd Supply had a goal for me in mind, which was you have to at least have 200 subscribers. 200 subscribers on that Crowd Supply page for that specific project. So
is that something that like a human at Crowd Supply was like, hey, based on your project, we're thinking 200, or is that just a default thing that they apply to everybody?
No, that was not default. There was a lot of so after the acceptance and the actual launch, let's say, or pre-launch, I think it's called, there are lots of organizations, things like company entity, how to get the money in the US if we actually get the money. So, and then also the discussion about how many you want to sell, what is your target wish price. I should not talk about price, because that is very much dependent on how many people will actually order it, because there were different quotes on that. It's always like, it's like a cycling dependency, left and right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So it was individually for this project checked, but I also had some data. So I looked at the Home Assistant statistics. They have like official ones. How many Home Assistant installations do we have? I think it's now around like almost 2 million or something.
Yeah, 2 million in the home.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and I heard somewhere, I don't remember the source of it, that only a third do the opt-in for the installation statistics. So you could calculate that. That's like 3 times more. But whatever. If it's 2 million, then I have to think about how many of these have this need, which I target. Then, yeah. And if I take 50 of that, I think 50 is doable by 2 million people.
So is it that 50 that you have to manufacture, or crowd supply then manufactures?
So it will be like this. So currently I have the subscribers so my goal was 200, and I reached it in January. And now I think we are hovering about 440. Yeah, 440 subscribers. And now it's up to me. We are currently in the new hardware revision, but when the hardware revision is done, I have to go to my supplier who will manufacture that board and ask for quotes. So I can ask for quotes for 50, 500, 1,000 or 200, whatever. And depending on those quotes, the price and the margins will be different, because some pieces of hardware, you get discounts only when you go in the thousands of them, which I obviously want to. Some are already at 100. So depends a lot of those like external factors, how much margin and price will be there. And everybody needs a piece of it, right? I want to, I know that I will not make my day job will still be there. That I know.
Right.
But
right.
it would be great to get a bit of compensation of it. But then there's also the manufacturer itself. Then there's packaging and everything, like returns and shipments and all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And so I'm guessing, like you just mentioned packaging there. Is that something that you're designing? Like you have control
good question.
over?
I have no idea yet.
Oh, cool. So not even, yeah. So very early days.
Yeah. So we are waiting for the new hardware revision, because when I had the prototype working from the Upwork guy, then I met with someone here locally in Germany, and he looked at the board like, oh, that part will be like dead in 6 months. Like he immediately knew that one piece which he used was the only holding up for 6 months, because he's doing that like for 20 years or so.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, thank you. That is very valuable information. Because that would be bad to have like all returns in 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, like checking the costs for the parts, also longevity. Is it the right part? And when we have updated that, I will go to manufacturer, ask for quotes, and then determine a price. And if that is happening, if the price is like set, then it will be all the subscribers, currently the 400 something, will get an email, and if they want to, can buy. If they don't want to, they can ignore it. Right.
Yeah. That's a very cool process. Yeah. We've talked to a few vendors and all that at this point, right? But it's and we've gotten an understanding of their design process, but I've never seen this like the launch process, right? So that's actually pretty interesting.
That's also it's very hard, because I'm doing it alone. I'm not a company. I didn't want to get investment for this, which I have to somehow make back. Because of the niche product, I think it will not be like 1 million pieces sold. It's unlikely. But I think the idea is very interesting to do this launching, and that's why I'm doing it, because I want to learn how this industry functions in itself.
Yeah, for sure. That's really neat. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about you and your smart home and what you're doing in that front. So what does your smart home look like? Like, what do you or how much? You said you've used Home Assistant since I think 2017. I think you said.
Correct.
So I mean, what does that look like, and how has it evolved? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I had a friend of mine who was always talking at work about his Home Assistant, and he was so proud of his lights turning on and off automatically back then. I never did. I never got it. So, I was renting, and I still rent, but different place. I don't see the point in having, for me personally, don't see the point for having the lights switch when automatically, because the interface of a switch is, I think it's great. But when Roborock released the first decent vacuum cleaner, I think it was 2016, maybe even 2017, I immediately bought one, and I hated the app experience.
Right.
And my girlfriend couldn't use it at the time, so we had to share somehow the password, and she had to log in with the China cloud and everything. And I didn't like that experience. And so I looked around, how could I make it like agnostic, let's say. And that's where I stumbled across then Home Assistant again and fell in love with it, because now I had way more capabilities than I had with the app alone. First, my girlfriend was able to access it from one interface. And second, I could automate it. I mean, I think you can still do automations on the app itself.
You can set up schedules and stuff, but it's not like the same. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not only do this when I'm away, or only do this.
Yeah. It's also very static. So our days are not very static. And the cool thing I found, I think the app started around that time, but I'm not 100% sure. I got location data from my phone, or at least the Wi-Fi. I knew that I was at home. Same thing for my girlfriend. And so I built an automation which allowed the vacuum to run when we left both the Wi-Fi for at least a certain amount of time. I don't remember. And it would only clean once a day. So when we went off to work, it would just clean. And that was, for me, it was amazing. Since then, I haven't touched a vacuum.
Interesting. Yeah.
That was my entry drug, basically, on Home Assistant.
That's funny.
And so then how far down the rabbit hole did you end up going? Did you get those light switches automated in the end?
No. I'm still renting. I'm always very thinking about the cost and the return of investment, I say. For the vacuums, I think it's a no-brainer because you save time. You don't do anything. The house is always clean. You're not arguing about whose turn it is, whatever. For lights, I still don't get it that much. But for other things, now I have evolved my vacuums to be also doing the floors. So I have one of these which have like mops on them. That's another step up. Yeah, that's for me the most important part. But the other things I have done, which has escalated a bit, was a cat doorbell. So we have a cat
doorbell.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
We have our doors are just basically windows, and I can't. Since I'm renting, I just can't do a cat flap. And I just have bought myself a pressure mat, got one of those Akara, what's it called? The water leak detection
the flood
sensors.
sensor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connected the mat to it, and it's a Boolean. When the cat sits on the mat, some light will flash on the window just to give her feedback. And also the living room lights will also flash, and we get a notification on our phone that she wants to go inside.
That's cool.
It's not too expensive.
How long did it take you to train that?
It was very fast because she's always sitting there anyway. So
nice.
And just if you have problems with that, treats are easy.
Yeah. So did you get like a pressure sensor off Amazon or something?
Some random one on Amazon. I saw this thing on my grandparents' house. It actually comes connected to a unit, like a bell. But this bell is so loud, you will lose your hearing after 3 days. Honestly, and so therefore I cut it off and just put on the Akara sensor. Hoped it worked. It worked perfectly, and now that's it. Yeah.
Did you have to provide power to it or anything? It was just literally put the positive and negative against the
It's basically it's a contact sensor, I think.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like these car seat sensors, which I also bought one and have connected to my chair. So I know that how long I'm sitting here right now every day. Yeah. How useful that is, I have to determine in the future. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a good reminder. Hey, like if you've got to sit stand desk, okay, you've been sitting down for 3 hours. Time to stand up, or
Well, also it's also you can tie it back to your PokyPow and say, hey, you've sat at your desk, turn on the computer, do blah blah blah, right? Whatever.
That's the plan. Definitely. Yeah. I also have. I'm not sure how I want to do it, because if I sit down, do I want to always have the computer on? Because sometimes I also have a MacBook on the left side. So this is kind of a tricky thing. Yeah, but what I was thinking about, like I got one of these Home Assistant voice preview editions,
Mhm.
and the cool thing I think about these is, in Home Assistant at least, if you sit down, you have these like Home Assistant knows, okay, you have sat down, and now you can trigger a voice action to ask you, hey, do you want to turn on the PC or not? And that's so cool, I think.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to do it. Yeah.
And if you don't,
it's-
you say just no, thank you.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's actually very efficient. I don't know why I didn't think of that to start with. Yeah, if you have multiple computers and all that, right? And it's, hey, you're here, or if you have multiple like PCs with cases and stuff like that, and that you have your PokyPow in, and say, hey, which PC would you like to turn on? Like,
Especially when you're like streamers or something, like who have a recording device, right, or whatever.
yeah.
So you mentioned you've got the voice PE. Are you using any other voice to control the house?
I used to do Google Assistant.
Mhm.
I have set up my Home Assistant. Mine is publicly available, but I did it myself. Don't use the Nabokasa yet, and I use it pretty heavily actually. Also, to when you go out of the door, just hey, please turn on the vacuum cleaner to remove the delay of the like location. But it was always such a hassle to go to the Google Developer Console, and I think every half of a year you have to activate it again.
Yeah.
And at some point they changed the interface. I didn't know where to click, and since that day I didn't turn it on anymore. That's actually
good
why
reason.
I'm thinking about getting an Abukasa subscription, because that I think that is then handled. Then you don't have to do
Yeah,
the
you don't
console
touch
thing.
it ever again.
You guys use the Nabokasa, I guess, for that?
We absolutely do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so
it's-
like set and forget, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's especially with the voice assistant, like again, even a lot of the voices are there and all of that stuff too, right? So it's nice and it's easy.
Yeah.
I do run some of the services locally, but I also I don't know, I kind of go back and forth a little bit. I'll do it local, I'll go back, and but yeah, to your point, you don't need it. I don't know. I'm lazy and I just like the convenience, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my background is in IT, so I do hosting and stuff. So was a no-brainer for me. So I understand it, and I'm willing to change because I want to see the whole flow with the Home Assistant voice setup, which is easier then. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Do you have any tablets or anything that you use to drive any one-off automations?
I was thinking about this, but I'm not sure how useful it is because my dashboard is actually very, very not used. The things I do are basically automated, or I have interfaces like buttons. I really am a big fan of buttons because we live in houses where we have switches and just flick them, and it's so easy to do. I have one in next to the door where I've just when you just click it once, it will just vacuum all floors. If you click it twice, it will vacuum and mop all floors. That's easier than just for me having a tablet sitting there, keeping it up to date, and I don't know.
Completely agree. Yeah.
The only more sophisticated thing I did was more or less also accidental. So I have like roof windows in this room and in two others, and I had to get roller blinds like from outside because the sun is actually, when I just make them up, I will get sunburn right now. So, and it will get pretty hot in here in the summer. So, but when I bought these, I didn't look for them if they had like home assistant control because I didn't find them really quickly, but I just wanted to have them. Luckily, there's some guy who hacked something, and there's a stick somewhere which I got for $70, and now it's in Home Assistant, which I'm very glad of. And now I can use weather data, the angle of the sun, the heat, if it's sunny or if it's rainy, and they will automatically go up and down. And it's such a satisfying noise when you hear the rotors going and it's going up because the sun is in an angle where it doesn't concern me anymore.
Yeah. And that's nice too, because you can also do it like if you're on a video call or anything like that, right? Because obviously that could change your appearance effectively, right? I mean, outside of the sunburn and just general sweatiness, it's that's also another nice thing there too, right? It's just to keep your, I guess, video calls and stuff tight a little bit. So,
well, if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Add Z-Wave long-range support to your Home Assistant instance with the Zeus ZST39 USB radio. Their advanced technology operates in dual network mode, combining a reliable mesh system with ultra-fast direct device-to-hub connectivity. And with Z-Wave long-range support, you can get coverage up to 1,300 feet or 400 meters, both indoors and outdoors. And is extremely secure with unique DSK QR code scanning, which you can do directly in Home Assistant. The Z-Wave.js integration in Home Assistant enables seamless compatibility with a wide range of brands, all working together through the secure, private, and standardized off-cloud protocol. But that's just the start. Zeus offers a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, scene controllers, and even color paddles. The color paddles for their scene controllers, dimmers, and switches allow smart devices to blend seamlessly into your home. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com. And Andrej, I know you just mentioned that you like switches. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of Z-Wave stuff you could plug in as well, just to put behind a dumb switch and potentially make other things smart.
Definitely. Yeah. I haven't got my feet into Z-Wave yet, so I don't know. I'm a Zigbee guy currently.
You're Zigbee? Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm always in that camp, like Z-Wave, Zigbee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I trust Z-Wave because of the interoperability, right? Brands you have to go to that spec. Zigbee can be a bit hit and miss, I found, but cheap. So yeah,
it's a trade-off. I think there's a place for both, right? Like in the sense that it's, certain things you might want, especially if it's to deal with security, like things like locks and that kind of stuff. It's like, right. But even we were talking with somebody the other day about Z-Wave LR and, how that's kind of come quite a bit, right? And how that's evolved and, it's not necessarily your mesh topology. You kind of use it where you need it. Rather than unlike regular Z-Wave where you just kind of use it everywhere. But it is, I don't know, I like the fact that everything is kind of secure behind it, right? So that's a nice piece there. But
Andrej, you said before that your Home Assistant instance, the UI, is rarely touched. Is that because you don't have that much automated because you haven't got, like, I'm guessing, like lights, or is it just automated to a point where there is no point in going into Home Assistant? It just happens in the background without thinking of it.
The things I would like to automate, I did automate actually. The interface is used for that ad hoc actions, let's say. I want to know the temperature in all the rooms because I have set up temperature and CO2 monitors in most of the rooms just to see, okay, do I want to like keep the doors open in the morning to get the fresh air in, right? Things like that. That I would like to still automate, but that's the automation is called Andrej right now and will look up in the morning and stop manually or close manually the windows and doors. Yeah. And more like information, yeah. So it's mostly used for this. Maybe one odd automation we have is, but that is something very, very to my relationship is we have a point system in there, which is kind of funny. I told it a couple of friends of mine.
Point system. Okay, this sounds like a good. Yeah. Okay.
So every Sunday, my girlfriend gets a notification on her phone because she likes to do some chores, which I don't. We have a agreement on that.
Okay.
And then she gets rewarded points, and these points are just, I think it's a counter in the background.
Yeah.
And since she thinks she's also right about it, that when she does a chore, I have to bleed also at some point in time. And this is like we call quality points, and that's something where we just spend quality time with, and we just use these points and have to pay then for for the whatever we do. It's going to the cinema, going to a restaurant, whatever. So that's kind of also relationship automation. But please don't do that without consent.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly consent required.
Yeah.
But that is kind of cute. Like, that's a good way to, like, I guess, reward yourselves, right? Like, because there's always, like mowing the lawns, doing the dishes, or something,
folding laundry,
stuff like that,
whatever stuff people hate sometimes doing, right? Like it's,
and that's how you basically like don't forget each other, right? So you just see, okay, we didn't spend those a long time. Let's just do something together. You don't have to tie it to chores or whatever. You can do it just like weekly and distract when you do the activity, just subtract it and that's it, right?
Right. Less of a reward system, more of a
tracker.
Hey, let's make sure to give ourselves these times, right?
Yeah.
And, right. That's nice.
Have you thought about tying that into like something like Habitisha, which is an app that integrates with Home Assistant?
I have played with it, but I never was getting warm with it, like for to-dos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I heard good things about the integration because I think it's even a premium level, or
I think
it's a very good level.
I think it is. Yeah.
Now the other thing I really liked, and that's actually quite of a learning for me as well, was the CO2. So back in my old flat, I had a relatively small room where I worked from home, and when during the summer I sometimes had to close the window during meetings and the door just to not annoy everybody else and keep the noise out of the apartment. And for some reason I noticed that, man, I can't concentrate. I get headaches. I didn't know why. At some point, like after an hour or two, and then I got one of these from Air Gradient, I think they call themselves. They had a DIY edition at that point, but now they have also a fancier one. And now, back then, I just had an automation which just tell Google Voice, hey, the air is kind of not good in here. Please open a window. And that kind of changed my perception regarding how you can concentrate in an environment which has not enough fresh air, because for me, it doesn't work at all.
Right.
So I like automation which have a very practical impact on my life. And I wouldn't do these buttons where you have like party mode. I think they're getting used for videos and that's it.
I think that's the only use case for those buttons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not to be fair, I also have one of these, so
of course,
that's a great button. I love it.
Yeah.
Fibaro, which create a whole bunch of Z-Wave devices, they came out with it like that. It looks exactly like that. It's just a button. And I think I've seen them now being cleared out at one of my retailers down here in Australia, I think.
Oh, I had to build it myself because I didn't find any.
Oh, really? There you go.
I just bought one of these contact switches, the Akara contact switches for doors. Yeah, you can do everything with them. Yeah.
I've got in my electronics cupboard of shame, I have a whole bunch of Aquara switches that had grand plans for it, but no longer.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting because I mean I think there's been a few studies now that have talked about like the effect of, especially in schools, right, for concentration and all of that stuff with CO2 levels and air quality and all of that stuff. So I think that's actually I'm seeing the more people we talk to, you're not the first that's done this kind of thing. But I do see that as one of those things that people have been bringing up, saying, hey, I am monitoring this thing. And I did notice that my CO2 levels are, whatever, they're a little higher than they should be, or they're a lot higher than they should be, whatever it is. And it's like, hey, open a window or, do whatever, right? Open some doors, let some cross breeze in, that kind of thing.
And I think the data is so interesting because I had this experience in university as well. We had one room where we had like a meter. It was like red, yellow, green, and there was some lights behind it. And if you close the windows and you have like 30, 40, 50 people in a room, it gets to red very fast. Yeah. And everybody was like slouching, on their heads were tilting and yawning. And that's just the sign of, okay, you have to crack a window. And the other thing which I noticed was when we moved back, so we moved from the small flat from the city to a little bit outwards. And now I have a very old building with 4-meter high ceilings in this room right now. It's ridiculous, but the amount of air in here is very much different. I cannot consume it. So I see it in the data that I don't need to crack a window to be below the windows I had to be in my flat before, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, as with a lot of things, if you follow the money, you kind of see what happens, right? So you look at a place like Vegas,
Mhm.
which obviously they pump a lot of oxygen to keep you awake, to keep you focused, to keep you alert,
Didn't know.
right? And yeah, and that's a lot of where that comes from, right? Is because it's again, I don't know how much of it is quote unquote fresh air,
Yeah.
but just pumping in that oxygen and things like that. There's been times that I've had when, like you don't realize what time it is. Obviously that's because it's all closed off and all that stuff on purpose, right? And keep you inside and spending money. But you look at the time and you're like, oh, it's like almost 6 a.m. right now, right? And you don't even realize, right? And a lot of that is because of things like pumping oxygen into the facilities and stuff like that, right? So again, that same kind of principle, you take that and apply it at home, right? When you're studying, when you're doing a lot of that stuff. Obviously, we're not pumping oxygen in our homes or anything like that, right? But open a window, right? And I don't know, you start automatically like studying better, concentrating better, all of that kind of thing. Which I still think is super interesting, just as a data point in, I don't know, in life. But yeah. From an automation perspective, what are some of your favorite ones? Like, what do you think is the best automation that you have? I know you said you like practical ones. So let's do the most practical, and then if you have like a fun one, let's talk about that one too.
Okay, I think the most practical one is actually the covers, so the window covers. It is so satisfying when you're out in the terrace and you hear the motors rolling and nice. Now it's my house is getting shade.
Yeah.
And it took me also quite some time to figure that out until I found a blueprint.
Well, question for you on that. You said you were renting still. How does that work where you live? Like, do you then get to take those roller shutters when you leave, or how does?
In theory, I paid half of them, so I could take half of them. I guess I don't know.
Okay, right. So you sort of like you paid for half and the owner paid for the other half.
I think that in maybe the next renter who will join here can give me the half of that or whatever the rest value is. I don't know, but that that is only happening when I know that. So I don't know how it will happen.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's just interesting to see how different locations do those sort of things. I know down here in Australia you can't make permanent changes to a house, right? Like you buy a house, you rent a house, and that's what you get. You generally don't get to make any of these big changes.
Yeah, this was checked with the landlord. So she was willing to take half care of the half of it. So because it gets like over 30 degrees in here in summer. I mean, there's nothing for you in Australia, but in Germany even,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the other a fun one. I think the cat one is a very fun one because nobody thinks about
that is kind of fun, actually.
I even have another idea which I'm working on as so I'm working on a scale with these weight sensors, I forgot how they call it, like HS something.
This could be getting dangerous.
I want to put them below the litter box for my cat.
Okay. Nice.
We're going on there. So just to know when she goes there that the vacuum can automatically go to the place and just vacuum a bit because there's always these litter laying around. But the funny part was I had the scale laying around on the floor because it was a DIY project. Some cables sticked out, and the vacuum did eat the whole project, like rolling up all the cables, destroying. That's why I'm currently in pause for that. Yeah,
it's interesting that the camera on the vacuum cleaner didn't pick it up as an obstacle and avoid it.
Yeah, I'm also very surprised by that because I have ones with camera. There was a Dreamy L10S Ultra or something, and it wasn't smart enough for that. Just think, maybe it was also scared about doing that chore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the other thing is when we have to leave for a weekend, for example, visiting parents or whatever, then of course I bought myself like one of these automatic feeders, cat feeders.
Oh yeah.
And these are very handy. If you like spontaneously need to get away and don't have someone who can look over the animal, then it's super handy to do that. Yeah.
Have you got like any cameras or like pet cams in the house, so when you do go away, you can monitor the cat, see what's going on?
Actually, I wanted to go into that, but at the time when I was looking into, I think half a year ago or so, I didn't find some cameras which I was very satisfied with, because I don't know. I'm not sure. Do I want to have Wi-Fi? Do I want to have battery? And how long does the battery last? But
Yep.
now with the Home Assistant Works program, I think I saw Reolink getting into it, and I'm currently actually looking into them. So I think that's also what I thought like 5 years ago, that the Home Assistant will at some point it will be the standard for home automation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And with the Home Assistant Works program, I will just buy that. That's it. I just go to that list and just buy that stuff which is on this.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing like buying the old Sonos, the Air One, crimping them myself, doing the. It was such a hassle. This was the only thing which was available in Germany, at least at the time, and it was so much time. I don't want to do that anymore.
Get people buying like Tasmota devices and having to flash them with ESP Home or something.
Yeah.
But there's also so much more choices like these days, right? I mean, there's a lot of people building a lot of devices and a lot of that kind of stuff. And what's cool is a bunch of them are also getting into that works with program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty neat. I like that it's open to or accessible to folks, which is really nice. But yeah, I totally agree. If it's got that sticker on there, then it's like, okay, that's even better, right? I know it's going to integrate into my smart home, and off you go, right? So
I don't mind flashing a device, but I don't want to open it, like go the way around the manufacturer just doesn't want you to do it, because you have to solder some pins on it, and I just don't want to do that way. And if it's just a cover and I click it off and connect the cable to it, and then I can flash it, nice. That's why I also do it from the PokyPow. I just have USB-C connected to it, because I want people to be able to just put whatever they want on there. I don't care. It's their device. Yeah. And same thing I feel about when I buy something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not yours, it's theirs, and they should have complete control over it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
What are your future plans for your home automation journey? Have you thought about, long term? I'd like to. I mean, you mentioned before you got everything automated, but what would you like to see?
I'm interested in cameras actually, and like detection of persons or whatever, right? Because I think that can level up your things quite a bit. I also would have I have a server here with even a GPU running and some LLMs. So that's also something I am playing around right now. So with the voice things.
Sorry, I was going to ask, do you have your Home Assistant Voice PE connected to your LLM locally?
Yeah, I so not an LLM. I use the what's it called? Piper and Whisper, I think. They are running on my server, because my Home Assistant is actually running on a Home Assistant Blue, and that's not capable of.
Right.
At least it takes too long. And I was playing around with that. I think a lot of things can be very nice with that when you have like a natural voice and like, hey, can you turn on the whatever? I love that, and also do it in my native language as well. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking into right now. I'm just getting into it, just understanding which model to use and all these kind of things. I hope it will be a bit easier in the next future. And the same thing with cameras. Which detection model do you use? And do you want to really depend on the cloud, or is it something which is local, which I would of course prefer?
Yeah.
But I understand the trade-offs. Sometimes you need cloud, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running your own stack, then honestly, it's a little easier if you or not easier, it just keeps things a little tighter when you're running it yourself, right? And then you're not dependent on any other service to be up or running, right? But the other side of that is now you're also playing IT admin at home and making sure your stuff is up and up to date.
And got the energy bill to contend with.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah.
Right.
The energy bill, especially here in Europe and Germany, is nuts regarding this. So, and I have a 3090 in there for LLMs. That thing is sipping power. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I think AI is every release there's a new add-on for AI coming in, and I think it's 2025 is probably going to be the year of AI. The unofficial year of AI in home assistant. I think people are starting to really see its potential.
I think it's still a bit too complex for the everyday user, but it's getting there. You see it. Getting the models is easier these days with Olama. You can connect Olama to Home Assistant with running your own LLM. So I think it's coming. And a friend of mine who's helping me with the hardware project as well is he's very into hardware, and he said that a lot of chips these days are actually very capable of doing things on the chip itself. So be it camera recognition, like person detection, for example, on a camera.
Yes.
I think these things are coming down to the hardware slowly, but they're coming. Yeah.
I got a Rear-Link doorbell about a month ago, and it's got person detection, vehicle detection. I don't know. It must do it all on the camera because it's all local, right? And it's fast. So yeah.
Same thing for the vacuum. So I have two Dreamy vacuums, the same, and I flashed the free firmware Valetudo on it, and the object detection still works. So it must be local.
Yeah, I think it's whatever TensorFlow, TF Lite, whatever is efficient enough, and the hardware that it requires is cheap enough, right? I mean, you think of like a Google Tensor, TPU, whatever, right? And I don't know, they're not super expensive, right?
Yeah, the new NVIDIA Jetson devices, which I could think of, running these kinds of workload as well, and don't sip power like my 3090. So I just have that because I'm a bit early, right? And I think a couple of years, then you can have smaller devices which don't sip that much power and still get the same capabilities.
Yeah.
And the other thing I have, from a perspective of longevity of these devices, I know how cloud business works because that's what I'm doing for a living. At some point in time, cloud costs money. That's just a fact. And whether you're paying with data, whether you're paying with subscription, whether you're paying by the company getting shut down because they didn't pay their bills and you can't use the device anymore, you're paying at some point in time.
So let's say PokyPow is a success and it allows you to get some more free time from your day job. Have you got any other ideas that you would love to start working and make this into a business for? Have you got another idea for a product that you'd go beside PokyPow?
Actually, the scale. So scales could be used, in my opinion, in very much different use cases. Like I have a friend who's a beekeeper. He wants to know how much the weight of the what do you call it?
The beehive.
The bee swarm hive. Yeah, thank you. Is, and how much honey you have. So this could be also very interesting because I couldn't find anything. There are a lot of DIY guides, but nothing where you just buy it and still can use like a good platform to further DIY it. You have to do everything yourself. That could be interesting as well for me.
Grocery, which is a management for your home groceries, right? That has a option to have a tear weight support. So you can have, like this product, it's in the shelf, and if it weighs this amount, that means, okay, I've got 25% left or whatever. Now add it to the shopping list. So yeah, it would be cool to have sitting under a jar of sugar, for example. Okay, I know that I'm running out of sugar. I need to add that to the shopping list.
Yeah, it's super versatile. Having it could be roll of toilet paper. I saw these projects, like hundreds of them on the internet. Or your milk or whatever. So it's very versatile. But it's either you buy a relatively expensive scale from I don't know the manufacturers, whatever, they're 400 euros with the cloud connection, or you have to completely DIY it. And I think there's a middle ground. Like build a good platform where it does look nice, not like garbage where you
Yep.
have like cables sticking out. Like
Yep.
that's for me for my example is that it's not a good thing to have cables sticking out all the way around it, because it doesn't look nice. So
Oh, especially if you have children, they will
poke it. Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, I think I'm not sure how many people will buy that stuff, but maybe you do another crowd supply campaign then, but only one project at a time, because otherwise nothing gets done.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Andrej, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and this has been really enlightening. All the best with PokyPow. That's it's honestly, we love seeing community-driven projects like this, right? So, all the best with that, and hope to see you and PokyPow in I don't know, a lot of people's hands.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.